the Indianapolis Colts off-season outlook, AJ, who is the one name that the Indianapolis Colts should be targeting?
So this is going to slap you in the face. It's going to sound crazy. You're not going to really understand where I'm going, and that's okay because you're not ready for it. The name that I'm picking here for the Indianapolis Colts to target is cornerback Chris Harris Jr. Chris Harris Jr., a veteran, one of the few former lockdown cornerbacks in the NFL, former first team All Pro. Listen, he's not the same guy who was shutting down a whole side of the field. He's not the same guy that's running down breakaway receivers, but he is the same guy that plays that cornerback role very intelligently. The connection with Gus Bradley to me makes a big deal. And what he's able to do, if you are able to pair him next to Kenny Moore, who's had a very good season, with an Xavier Rhodes, who is getting older but is still very solid, that veteran leadership, the fact that Chris Harris he's like that offensive lineman, but a quarterback can play everywhere. He can play the boundary, had about 325 snaps last season on the outside, has played the slot better than most cornerbacks at the slot position now. If you can get a guy like Chris Harris Jr., one, he's going to be cheap. And two, he's going to do something for that defense that is still young and still talented. Are there other talented cornerbacks out there? Absolutely. But where you are right now, you're going to need a lot of fortitude, if you will, on that defensive side of the ball to hold down whoever's going to be taking snaps on the offensive side of the Indianapolis Colts in 2022.
I'll tell you what, AJ Johnson, that was beautiful.
For a Colts fan down there, you got him going.
I'm
down
not
there.
A Colts
you really
fan,
got
dude.
him going.
Okay, knock that off. But AJ, you bring up a great point. We saw this team, right? This is the Colts. They tend to go out after these older corners, like they bring in Xavier Rhodes and they bring him in and a couple other older pieces towards the end of their career. Now, this makes a lot of sense. Chris Harris joins. I love the Gus Bradley connection. And look, Rock Ya-Sin is burnt toast. Every single time he tries to shut down a receiver, I mean, he gets cooked and burnt. And I mean, it's like watching Downtown Brown out there of the Dallas Cowboys. So Rock Ya-Sin, shout out Aaron, shout out Porto. But, But to your point, Chris Harris, an ideal fit. I would love to see him in a Colts uniform. I think he would help transform that defense and help out their secondary a ton.
So AJ, when we were prepping for this show and getting everything together and determining what free agents we were going to be picking and everything, this was before the Carson Wentz trade. Are you prioritizing a Chris Harris over maybe a Mitch Trubisky or going after like a Jimmy Garoppolo? Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo would be in a trade, but are you prioritizing a guy like Chris Harris over going out and getting that quarterback like maybe a Mitch Trubisky?
No, and you can't, because as I've already alluded to, I personally don't like what's in the draft. I don't think you move on from Carson Wentz because he had a bad end to his season, but he had a 8-game stretch of really good games. We all expected the Colts to be in the playoffs and playing quite well, and he basically imploded on the entire Indianapolis Colts team. So if you can get a guy like he who shall not be named, if you can get a guy like even I'm not one who's afraid to think Marcus Mariota deserves another shot finally. He looked good in the Raiders situations where he had to step in for Derek Carr when he went down for whatever snaps it was. So you absolutely do need to go get yourself a quarterback. As you said, this was before, and I still like the Chris Harris. And because he's still cheap, you can still make that move. And I think it's just as important on your defensive side to do something like that as it is to – that's not fair. It's very, very important as it is to go and get a quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts coming up.
Let me play host and spin a question real quick. How do you feel about Teddy Two Gloves in Indianapolis?
That's a reincarnation of Jacoby Brissett. They're a little different, and I get it, but you're looking at the same outcome, in my opinion. Teddy Bridgewater is not going to, quote-unquote, hurt you, but he's not going to get you out of any situation where you need plays to really be made. And as a team that doesn't have a lot of talent on the outside, Michael Pittman's great. T.Y. Hilton will have his moments, and they still haven't decided if they're going to go with Gargantuan or Jack Doyle at tight end, outside of Jonathan Taylor. You don't have enough where Teddy Bridgewater is going to be able to just make something happen. Look what he just left in Denver and couldn't do anything with